Strong looks different for each of us, and it's time to put focus on our unique journeys that get us there. This space, created weekly, is for athletes to improve their mindset in order to better navigate challenges that come up in sport and in different seasons of life. On this show, we ask the questions that lead to better answers and have the conversations that truly matter. This is the Becoming Your Strong podcast. 18.2 miles. Just me and my rucksack trotting through the wilderness of Staunton State Park here in Colorado. What a freaking weekend that was, you guys. I'm so excited to just sit here and have a conversation with you around just how this race went. It was my very first endurance event that I've ever truly done, and just talk about some of the things that came up for me. There's no specific thing that I'm hoping that you get out of today. It's just, again, if we were sitting over coffee, just talking about life and some things that came up for me, I just hope that you're able to find something within this that really resonates and that you can apply to your life. So before we talk about the Green Beret race that I did this past weekend, let's go ahead and do the shout out of the week, the Becoming Your Strong moment, which has to go to every person that attacked the Green Beret race this last weekend. There were all different types of people, different levels. I mean, there were people that traveled from out of state that had never been at elevation before. There was me and Dave. It was so cool to just see the different type of folks that attacked this and did it within their means, did it in a way that was going to challenge them. It was really cool to watch Dave actually lead the entire race. And even though we had differing distances and other people crossed the finish line first, he was the first place finisher for the SF distance, which was the hardest distance. It was over 21 miles with 40 pounds dry weight. And he was the first person to cross the finish line, and he earned the golden dog tag, which only one person per race gets the opportunity to earn. So that was just really cool. And I think about they're having another race this weekend, and one of my friends out on the East Coast, his name is Vincent, who listens to this podcast, is going to be doing it this weekend. I want to also shout him out because he had just started getting into hybrid racing, not just rucking, like in general, like hybrid racing. This year, he did his very first DECA, and I had the opportunity to coach him at one of the races. And I've seen him each time I've gone out to Underdog to visit, and he's just gotten a little bit better and a little bit better. And he's finding his way throughout this whole thing. And he's taken on a big almighty Green Beret race in his first year of like really going after this type of stuff. So I'm really proud of you, man. I think that what you're doing is absolutely amazing, and I'm excited to see you accomplish this and see what comes from this experience for you. Because like I said, it was a really cool experience for me this weekend to just be with myself for 18.2 miles and to see how I would do mentally and physically and emotionally throughout the challenge. So without further ado, let's just jump right into that. And I think it would make sense to start with, why in the world did I decide to do this? Because if you look at my track record, I am a short, snippy, Metcon type of gal when it comes to me as an athlete. That's what I really thrive in, are the DECA Strongs. It's those short, really punchy workouts where you're done in 15 minutes and it's super interval, high intensity. Doesn't mean they feel good, but that's just what I've gravitated to, and it's what I've become really good at. And so this is the complete opposite of that. The time domain is times like a million of what I do in a normal race. But I remember earlier this year watching Dave do the Collegiate Peaks 50K trail running race, and just seeing the trail running community and how awesome they were, how supportive they were, all the people at the aid stations, the volunteers, just watching Dave push himself in that race and all of the ups and downs that he went through. Like, I just felt so pulled to do something like that. I said, I don't know what that looks like for me yet. Maybe it's this race next year. Maybe it's, a different sort of race, but I really am feeling pulled to do something where I am being forced and challenged to be with myself for long periods of times and to go through a lot of those ups and downs. It's one thing when you're going through those in a matter of 15 minutes because it's over before you blink your eyes. This one is like you're in it and you're in it for a really long time. And so I put that out there into the universe that I was like, I don't know what that is yet for me. I'm going to put it out there and I'm just going to see what comes to me. And it was like maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a month later that we get an email about this Green Beret race that's coming to Colorado. And Dave and I looked at each other. I was like, well, we're doing it. Like, it's kind of a interesting, risky thing for us because, you know, some of these distances that we're going to take on are hard without a ruck on, and then we're going to do them with a ruck in a terrain that is pretty difficult and full of elevation, which means what goes up must come down. And if you know anything about that, the downhills are the hardest, if not the worst parts of the race because of how they just tear up and beat up your body. So I just in the moment felt though, like, you know what? When it's time, the right thing's going to come to me, and it did. And looking back on that, I'm so happy that I made the decision to do this because it was truly a really cool experience. And so going into this weekend, the only thing that I asked of myself was just simply to finish. I wasn't going into this like, this is my A race. I have to beat everyone. I have to cross the finish line first. Like I had no intention of that. I honestly could not care less if I was in last place this entire time. My thing was I want to show myself that I can do something long distance. And it doesn't matter how slow or how fast I am. I just want to be able to do it. And then I saw that there was also an opportunity to earn a dog tag, which is kind of like their prestigious way of honoring people that put up a really good performance. So you have to meet a certain time standard in order to get a dog tag. There's also a certain time standard in order for you to pass the mission. And then if you don't do that, then I don't know if you necessarily fail, but you don't get those recognitions per se. But despite all of that, I really just wanted to finish. And when I got out there, I wanted to make the judgment of like, you know what, I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling locked in. I want to push. I want to go for, you know, a passing standard, or I want to go for this dog tag standard, whatever that looks like. So we get out there, and the first thing that made me laugh was the fact that it was a freaking sausage fest, you guys. Like, Dave was like, wow, there's a lot of sausages in this one area. And I looked around and realized that I was the only woman. The cool thing is that there was, like, right before we, like, literally minutes before we raced, she walked up. There was another gal that ended up joining me on the 17.5 mile course. So I wasn't alone out there. And I was really proud that, you know, at least two of us were out there holding it up for the ladies. But that was so freaking funny. And these dudes that came all the way from Florida and Georgia, just the southern states, they came in this minivan together and they were a freaking hoot. So just the energy, the vibes, they were high. The funny thing about this, you guys, too, is like, this was not like a race where there's aid stations and things are marked off and you have people telling you where to go. Like, you literally show up and they say, okay, let me weigh your rucksack. Let me make sure you got the required equipment. Do you have a map, a compass? Okay, great. Ready, set, go. We'll see you at the end. And that is it. Like, you had to pack water filtration systems to gain additional access to water because there was no water drops throughout the entire distance, no matter what you were doing. You had to have your own food. I mean, literally anything and everything. Like, if you got stuck out there, got hurt, you have to have like emergency shelter and clothing. So like, this was truly like not survival of the fittest, but pretty damn close. Like, you were going out there by yourself without the thought of like, hey, I'm going to have other people out there to support me. Of course, there were the other racers, all 29 of us, and there were people out at Staunton, you know, doing their leisurely biking or hiking. But again, it really set in that you were doing this by yourself. And so you had to take it seriously. So we set off and I joined the front of the pack. It was the four of us, Dave, two other gentlemen that were doing the SF with Dave, and then myself. And we put a pretty decent lead on some of the other racers pretty early on. And so I just remember like the pace that we were going at, and honestly, it felt pretty comfortable. There were some moments that we were pushing, and the first like 4 to 5 miles were all uphill. Like, not like you're trotting up a hill and you're trying to look for the top, like switchbacks, just gradual going for like the first hour and a half. And so that can catch up to you. And I remember that when Dave and I and Megan went just to test it out and see what the first part of the course would bring us, we did about 9 miles that day. And I remember being like, okay, that was a little bit harder than I thought. So I was mentally braced for that moment to have it be a little challenging. So when there were these guys that were not pushing like a crazy pace, no one was running by any means, but we were pushing a good pace. There was that part of me that was like, oh, am I burning too many matches at once? Am I going to blow up? And that's like the normal racer Kayla in me, right? Like the person that's had the PTSD of, oh, I've been there before. I've gone way too hard on the road. I'm about to fall off on the box. Like we've all been there and we've learned from that. But there was also this part of me of like, you know what? Like I want to let this rip. Like, yes, this is kind of a dangerous, risky decision because I've never done something of this distance before. So me in the first couple of miles being like, I'm feeling good, let's let it rip. Like that just seems like a nightmare waiting to happen. But there was also like this trust in myself of like, you know what? Like I didn't come out here to make it easy, to just walk and waltz my way through this. Like I came out here for a challenge. And I came out here to mentally put myself in discomfort so that I can watch myself rise to the occasion. And right now I'm feeling great. And these guys are doing an awesome pace. And I want to hang with them. I want to see what I can do. And I hung with them all the way to the top. And they had to split off and go do some different trails to meet their distances. So they got up to the top with me, said, see you later. And then I started bombing it downhill. And oh my gosh, that first downhill was so much fun. You're just flying and there's aspens that are starting to change colors. So you're just seeing these beautiful views. Like it was just so stinking cool. And I get to the bottom of the very first massive climb, and there's a creek that you will want to get water from. So I took out my water filtration system and I looked and I see Dave and I'm like, hey, Dave. And Dave had like really started to trek. He pulled up into first place really early and just like we didn't see him for a little bit. So I was actually shocked to see him at the bottom, that I caught up to him. But he was getting ready to go back out. And so got my water, just got ready for this next section. And this next section I had no idea was to come because we didn't go this direction when we originally just sort of looked around and hiked things a couple weeks prior to this. So I was just ready for what was ever to come. And there was some more uphill that came. I think there was like 3 total big climbs in this, if I can remember correctly. And so this was like the second one that we did. But again, I was still feeling really good, still in just great spirits. And I found myself just like super locked in. Like I was excited to be there. I was locked into the mission and I was like, I'm going to go for this dog tag. Like I want to go for 5 hours and 30 minutes, which I actually thought was the standard in order to get the dog tag. So that was part of the reason why I set that time. And I was on pace to hit it. And so I was feeling really good. But I get to the top of this next climb and, it's just so easy to be like, I'm locked in. I got to go. I got to, get nutrition and I got to do this and that. And I just stopped and I was like, hold on a second. How often do I get to do things like this? Be out in one of the most beautiful parks in Colorado, just with myself, no one else around, just doing something that's challenging but also so freaking fun. How often do I get to just have this moment? And you don't get to have these moments every day. And so I think this was probably one of the most important things for me, was just to stop and to be present, to just acknowledge the beauty that was around me, to acknowledge how life was showing up for me in this moment, to acknowledge the gifts of the experience that I was getting in that moment. Like, again, I share this often, but that's because it always hits hard every time I share it. A few years ago, in 2018, this never would have been possible. I was stuck on a couch, depressed, and so lethargic that I couldn't get off the couch to just even go out and enjoy a walk on a sunny day. Like, that used to be my life. And here I am attacking a massive race with weight on my back, something that I never thought was possible. And so I just stopped at the top and I looked around and I smiled and just realized how big of a gift this is and how often we tend to rush through these moments. this is what we train hard for. This is what we live for, are these moments right here. We need to stop and enjoy them. And I think that's so applicable for so many of us that are getting our invites to World Championships this week, maybe over the next couple of weeks to DECA World Championships. Is okay, we worked so hard and now we've got the email, right? We're going. Okay, let's just dive right in. I don't think anyone's taking a moment to just like really celebrate and sit in that and just be like, I'm just so excited and so grateful to be here. I just want to enjoy this process. So I don't know who needed to hear that today, but I hope that resonated with someone. And that was just a really special moment for me to have at the top of that mountain, and just to be able to yell out like, oh my God, this is so freaking beautiful, and just to truly feel joyful in that moment. So maybe you can do that sometime this week. Maybe you're in the middle of a training session and I don't know, you could be in your garage doing an aerobic base session. I don't know what you're doing. And you just kind of look around and you smile and you just appreciate that. How lucky are you to have something like this in your life? To have something to love, something to care about, something to work hard towards. Not everyone gets that, but we get that, right? And that I think is an actual gift that we need to celebrate more. So anyways, that was a really cool moment. And to fast forward, I get through 10, 11, 12, anywhere between 10 and 12 miles of this. And I'm like, yo, I'm still feeling so good. I'm so proud of myself for what I've done so far. And starting to go down another hill. And I'm realizing that my hip and my knee are starting to lock. Things are starting to get a little bit more painful. And I flash back to this moment that I had a couple years ago when I did my very first Spartan race. And my very first Spartan race, you guys, was not like, oh, let's go do the sprint. It was like, oh, I've never done this before and I'm not really a runner. I'm going to go do the beast. Let's go do a half marathon. That's a smart choice. And nonetheless, let's go do it in a Big Fork, Montana, where the hills are massive and the terrain is pretty tough, and it's May, which means it's freezing and it's raining. So the experience is pretty close to miserable, which is exactly what it was. It was fun, don't get me wrong, but all that to say, because the climbs were so big, it just ate your body alive, both on the uphill and then on the downhill. And I had my knee and my hip locked during that race, and I was limping the last 2 miles of the race, and I was crying. My dad was on the sidelines watching, and he just like, he couldn't help, right? Like there's nothing that he can do besides just like try and cheer me on and tell me to keep going. And what was crazy is like when I had that flashback moment, I thought, okay, I need to brace myself that this is probably happening again. Like we're not new to this. We knew that this was one of our concerns doing a race like this, that potentially the knee, the IT band syndrome would pop up at some point. We did the best that we could to bulletproof the joints, to strength train, to get on as many rucks as possible to where we could practice these things. But at the end of the day, there's just certain things that you can control and other things that you can't. So what we can do in this moment is control our mindset and just remember the proof that we've been here before. We can do this again. We just have to continue to take one step at a time, work within our means, and give the best that we can in that particular moment. So I was already starting to use tools from the book that I just read, How Bad Do You Want It? Mind Over Muscle, of let's brace ourselves that this is going to suck and it's going to hurt and it's going to be hard. So when it happens, we're not surprised. We're just in that solution-based mindset of like, okay, let's look for solutions within the best attitude and give the best that we can in this moment versus being upset for the things that we can't control, for the things that are going on right now. So it was really cool to be able to apply those specific things. And so over the miles, things got progressively worse and progressively worse. And then I remember that I fell, I think for the second time. I'd fell once. And guys, falling with the ruck on, not recommended. Like that ruck smashing you into the ground is a little bit more invasive than you want it to be. So I don't recommend not picking up your feet, being clumsy, tripping over the air, all those things, right? Like pay attention to what you're doing. But I remember I'd fell for the second time, and I was getting pretty frustrated and things were getting worse and worse and worse at a quicker rate. And I felt myself wanting to cry. And there were a couple of moments previous to this where I felt a little frustrated and whatnot. And when I had this urge to cry, I was like, okay, do I do this or no? Do I not do this because I want to keep a good attitude? And that's the only thing that can keep me alive right now is the positive attitude. And I thought, but on the flip side of that too, I want to give myself the grace and tell myself that it's okay to be frustrated, to allow myself to process the emotions. Because if I keep packing it down, it's only going to turn into something worse potentially in a couple of minutes to, an hour from now. So when I felt this need and urge to cry, I gave myself the opportunity to just do that, to feel everything in the moment and say, it's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to think that this shit is absolutely dumb, that you work so hard and you're so mentally locked in, and yet here it is, your body is giving up on you and you can't do anything about it. It's okay to be upset about that. And I gave myself the time that I needed to just breathe through that and cry through that and process it. And I felt so much better by the end of it. And what I was able to do was say, okay, I give myself the grace for feeling that way. It's not the wrong thoughts to have, but I do want to have more productive thoughts, right? And again, the productive thoughts were, I need to do whatever feels good in this moment. I need to put aside any expectation that I had of myself to go after this dog tag, to go after a certain time. Like I had to adapt in the moment of these were my goals, but they need to shift a little bit. And that's okay. Doesn't mean that I failed. It just means that we got to work within our means and what we have available to us right now. If I could give myself 100% of what I have in this moment, when I cross that finish line, and I know that I will be super proud of the fact that I just didn't give up and I gave what I had. So these were the conversations that I was having with myself. I even went back to a conversation that I had in the car with Dave previous to this. And the moment that I had in the car was like, I want to hit that moment. I know people, I shouldn't say people, I should say just myself. I know I've had those moments in the past where I have been afraid or fearful to go to that place, to hit that moment, that wall. But today I want to do that. I want to find it and I want to be there and I want to watch myself succeed. I want to watch myself overcome it. Might be pretty, might not be at all, might be a freaking shit show. But I want to show myself that I have my own back, that I can do this. And so I thought of that. I was like, okay, Kayla, this is it. This is that moment. It's time for you to show up. Yeah, maybe it wasn't in the way that you wanted. You were hoping I'm so tired. I don't want to go any further. Well, you're not feeling that way. You're instead nervous, what if you hurt something, seriously injure something? That's not necessarily the way we wanted this to go down, but it's that wall nonetheless. So what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with this opportunity? And I took it and I ran with it. And my goodness, it was so tough making it down the very last hill. It was like it drug on and on and on. And I had to stop and shake the knee out and take deep breaths and keep myself from falling over. Thank God for trekking poles, because I don't know if I would have made it through the race without trekking poles. But I finally made it down the toughest part of the hill. And now it was this gradual trail just back to the parking lot. And this was it. It was the last mile and a half. And I was like, all right, I need a new vibe. I need a new energy. So I took the hat that I had on and I freaking put it backwards. And I said, backwards hat, Kayla, is a vibe. It's war. Let's freaking go. And I just went for it. Again, I pulled back when I needed to when I felt that it was too intense for my knee. And then I kept going and pushing the pace when I felt that I could and that it was safe. And I watched that goal time go past. I also thought I watched the opportunity of me getting a dog tag that I was working so hard towards go past. And I had to let that go and say, you know what? I want to just be so proud of myself for the fact that I passed this mission, that on my very first attempt of anything like this, that I passed the mission, because that is more than enough. And so I turned it on for the last little bit and I got across that finish line. And I was surprised with the fact that I, in fact, did earn the dog tag time, that the time to earn it was 6 hours or under. I came in at 5 hours and 51 minutes, which, you know, it's cutting it a little close, but I still did it. And the passing would have been the 7 hours. So I would have passed regardless, but I did it. I was so proud of myself for crossing that finish line and doing something of this endeavor for the very first time. I couldn't say right then and there that I was like, I'm ready to do another one. I'm totally doing this again. But as I reflect on it, I think about how cool it would be to do something like that again. Maybe not with the ruck on, maybe something a little different. Maybe I go after a half marathon. I don't know yet. But now that I had done something like that, you realize, okay, there were some hard moments, but it wasn't that bad. And even though the moments that were bad were really, really bad, they were a small part of the journey. And the larger parts of the journey were effing awesome. And I loved it. And that is something to celebrate. That is reason to go and give myself the chance to do something like that again. So the thing that I'll leave you guys with is the reason that I got across that finish line was because I was able to control my attitude. That was the only thing that I can control in that race and in that moment of just pain and agony was the perspective that I had of what I was going to gain, of the story that I was going to be able to come on the podcast and tell, the people that I was able to inspire in that moment by mentally toughing it out, right? That was the only thing that I can control. There are so many things in life that we are going after, that we are training for, that we are hoping to achieve one day, where there's going to be plenty of things that come across your path that you had no idea or never saw coming. You can't control it. And yet I feel like we work so hard to try and control all those things versus just letting ourselves show up. Just letting ourselves show up in the way where we can just do it, overcome it, give ourselves the opportunity to be a freaking badass and say, I know this is tough and I know this isn't ideal, but I can do this. I think that more of us need to have moments like this. I really do. Where we can put ourselves in that place of things that are uncertain, uncomfortable, and uncontrollable. And the more that we do that, the more that we put trust and belief within ourselves that no matter what happens, we're going to be able to overcome. So I don't know what that moment is for you this week, this month, the rest of 2025, but I hope that when you find it, you can come back to this podcast. You can think back to the messages that I shared with you today and realize if I can do it, you can do it too. And the only thing that's keeping you from doing it is the voice that's in your head. Thank you guys so much for showing up for you today. I hope that this episode truly did help. Be sure to share this with friends and podcasts and rate and review the podcast if you have not already. Thank you again for giving me this awesome space to just feel like I was chatting with you over coffee. That was a lot of fun to just share what all went down this weekend. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great week. Good luck to those of you that are doing the Green Beret race this upcoming weekend. And we'll see what stories I have for you next weekend. See you guys.